Imagine an alien takeover where our secret weapon isn't missiles but paperwork. When an advanced race invades Earth, they expect immediate compliance. Little do they know, Earth's tangled bureaucracy will be their downfall. Witness the hilarious chaos as high-tech overlords crumble under red tape and misplaced files. Will humanity triumph through sheer inefficiency? You'll want to stick around to the end to find out why sometimes the pen is mightier than the blaster. Dive in and laugh at the absurdity. Sarah Mason was staring at a spreadsheet, eyes glazed over, when the ground shook. Not again, she thought. First Mondays, now earthquakes. Her ancient computer screen flickered, prompting a half-hearted thump on the side. The public service announcement blared from the office radio, its monotonous tone blending seamlessly with the clattering keyboard sounds around her. Attention, citizens. We are experiencing an alien invasion. Remain calm and follow emergency protocols. Sarah snorted. Even an invasion couldn't shake up her day. No, she'd still be stuck here, dealing with people arguing over tax deductions. She glanced around the drab office, gray cubicles, buzzing fluorescents, a perpetually out-of-order copier. Excitement around here usually involved refilling the stapler. A brilliant light shot across the sky, visible through the dingy window. She watched, unimpressed as it grew, like the universe itself was scribbling outside her office. Suddenly, all screens powered down, causing a collective groan from her co-workers. A new voice, deep and resonant, cut through the air. People of Earth, we are the Qrathians, your new overlords. Surrender yourselves to our universal order. Oh, fantastic, she muttered. Overlords with microphones. Somebody's compensating. She stood, stretching out the kinks in her back, feeling the weight of too many hours and too little purpose. Curiosity piqued, she shuffled towards the break room, where Marv, the IT guy, was already watching a news feed on his tablet. On the screen, colossal metal structures settled over major cities, blinking with unfamiliar lights. Marv's eyes widened. They just landed, like it's theirs. Can they do that? He asked, looking to Sarah as if she held the answers of the universe, because she processed his W-2 forms every year. She let a smile creep onto her face. Guess we'll find out, Marv. She grabbed 2 mugs and poured stale coffee. Wouldn't miss this for the world. Back at her desk, a cold electronic voice interrupted. Human, your presence is required in the primary processing unit for initial compliance verification. Sarah blinked slowly. Sorry, what? Your compliance verification is mandatory, it repeated. You mean to tell me you're here to do paperwork? She deadpanned, unable to suppress a grin. What's next? Taking a number and waiting for your turn? A shimmer of light formed into a holographic figure. A Qrathian bureaucrat, all too serious and unsettlingly poised. Failure to comply will result in immediate punitive action. Sarah sighed dramatically. Fine, let's get this over with. But don't expect any special treatment. The hologram led her to the parking lot, now converted into a makeshift Qrathian processing center. She stepped inside, met with rows of standing Qrathians staring at monitors, processing forms. Ironically, it struck her how human their operations looked, like a high-tech DMV. The Qrathian in charge, its skin an iridescent green, handed her sleek tablets. Complete these invasion compliance documents. Ensure accuracy in all entries. Misfiling will not be tolerated. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. You've got to be kidding me. Welcome to the jungle. Hours passed. Her fingers danced over screens, filling form after form with the precision only a seasoned tax officer could muster. The Qrathians seemed bewildered by Earth's bureaucratic beast. Each misfiled form resulted in stern reproach, further muddling their own agenda. Sarah caught glimpses of their frustration, each mistake sending waves of confusion across alien faces. She bit back laughter. Qrathians enslaved by their own efficiency. A Qrathian supervisor approached, his frustration palpable. Your bureaucratic system is a labyrinth. We demand your cooperation. She leaned back, letting her chair tip dangerously. Hey, we didn't ask for this. You want order? Maybe file a petition. Wait, no, that'd take months. His glare was enough to spark a fire. Sarah's stiff asterisk let a yawn. We'll get this sorted. Eventually, tell your overlords to be patient. As dust settled, Sarah left the office, feeling lighter. The invasion was a mess, but in her mundane existence, she'd found a purpose. a strange, satisfying chaos. She looked up at the Qrathian ship, a smirk playing on her lips. "Welcome to Earth, aliens. Here, nothing is ever simple." Sarah tapped her pen against the desk, lost in thought. The Qrathians had thought they could waltz in, sign a few forms, and take over. How naive. She watched as their holographic representatives, now reduced to frazzled administrators, scrambled to understand her world's convoluted systems. She relished the absurdity. Across the room, Marv was glued to the news on his tablet. A reporter was documenting the Qrathians' progress, or rather, lack thereof. Their arrogance had been magnificent, but their execution? Pathetic. Marv chuckled dryly. "Look at them, the invincible Qrathians stopped by a pile of paperwork." "Classic," Sarah said. "They thought they were playing chess. Turns out it's Candyland." Her phone buzzed. It was an official message from the Qrathians, one more compliance form needing her expert touch. She sighed, pushing herself up from the desk. Time to save the world, one form at a time. The walk to the parking lot turned processing center was surreal. The Qrathians had set up sleek, transparent structures, which hummed with advanced technology. She spotted holographic screens filled with alien text, pulsing with unearthly energy. Yet the aliens themselves looked exasperated. One of them even banged its head gently against a screen. She approached the main desk where Brixer, a particularly uptight Qrathian, was waiting. He handed her a stack of digital forms. "Human, these documents require immediate resolution." "Of course they do," she replied dryly. He looked almost desperate. They must have really been losing ground. She took the forms to a table. Each was riddled with obscure terms and long-winded clauses that contradicted each other. She couldn't help but smirk. It's like they hired the IRS for their invasion plans. Brixer hovered anxiously. "We must complete these processes. Your system defies rationality. How do you humans manage?" "Lots of coffee," she said, and a little bit of despair. She worked methodically, making deliberate errors, mixing up sections, and ensuring each correction spawned 2 new issues. Every now and then she'd glance at Brixer, his confusion deepening with every passing minute. Their frustration boiled over when another Qrathian official approached. His face betrayed exhaustion and angst. "Brixer, we have another problem. The recent compliance submissions have been misplaced." Brixer's eyes widened. "Misplaced? How?" Sarah interjected, a picture of innocence. "Misplaced, you say? Sounds about right. Our system's a black hole." The new official looked at her, exasperated. "Your planet is chaos." "You're catching on," she replied. "Try working here every day." Back at her desk, Sarah noticed her colleagues had started to share her amusement. The human resistance wasn't fought with guns or bombs, but with pettiness and inefficiency. She spotted Paula, her cubicle neighbor, giggling wickedly while explaining to a Qrathian the concept of line jumping in a cafeteria. When she returned to the processing center, Brixer's face was a mosaic of desperation and determination. "Human, we demand your full cooperation. You must streamline these processes." "Streamline?" she echoed. "We lost that manual years ago, bud." She leaned back, eyeing the holographic display that mapped their invasion routes and resources. It was a technological marvel, but around it were mountains of incomplete forms and pending compliance issues. It was glorious chaos. As she made her 10th deliberate error on the latest form, Brixer cracked. "We underestimated you," he confessed. "Your inefficiency is a weapon we never anticipated." "Well," Sarah said, leaning forward, a smile creeping onto her face, "we do what we can." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the Qrathian ships, Sarah felt an odd sense of accomplishment. The Qrathians' grand plan was crumbling under the weight of human red tape. Sure, they had lasers and spaceships, but Earth had bureaucracy. And in this ridiculous game of cosmic chess, that seemed to be enough. She looked up at the vast Qrathian structures, still imposing, but now tinged with the absurdity of their plight. "Welcome to our world, aliens. Hope you packed a lunch." Sarah leaned back in her chair, tapping her chin thoughtfully. Even the Qrathians were losing their patience. It was poetic almost. She imagined their leaders, somewhere in their colossal ships, poring over her deliberately misfiled forms and tearing out what she assumed would be the alien equivalent of hair. The office felt a little livelier today. Word had spread about how the invaders were being held at bay by Earth's bureaucracy. Marv walked by, snickering. "You're becoming a legend, you know." "Good," she responded with a smirk. "Legends never die, especially not of paper cuts." The morning dragged with the same mundane grind, peppered with the occasional alien interruption. A new email dinged in her inbox. Another set of invasion compliance forms required immediate attention. Sarah chuckled darkly. Immediate was such a relative term. She stood, grabbing her mug, and headed for the break room. On her way, she caught snippets of conversations. Some were expressing newfound hope. Others just wanted to watch the Qrathians squirm. Sarah wondered if she could teach this alien species the concept of expedited services fees next. In the break room, Marv was already there, apparently fascinated by the coffee maker. "Figured they'd conquer us and set new world records. Instead, they're stuck waiting for you to rubber stamp their forms. Classic. Efficiency is overrated," Sarah said, pouring herself a cup. "Give me a good bottleneck any day." A Qrathian hologram shimmered into existence beside the coffee machine. "Human, we demand cooperation. Our forms remain incomplete." Sarah grinned, not missing a beat. "Sorry, new rule. No compliance before coffee. Try again in 10 minutes. The hologram flickered, clearly frustrated, then disappeared. Marv burst into laughter. "You're enjoying this way too much." "Enjoying?" she asked, eyes gleaming. "I'm thriving, Marv. There's a difference." She returned to her desk and methodically began correcting the alien forms. Every fix led to new complications. If they expected her to be their savior, they'd better strap in for a wild ride. Simplifying alien bureaucracy? That was someone else's hero complex, not hers. The afternoon brought more chaos. Qrathians crowded the makeshift processing center, their calm facades cracking. Brixer, now a regular face, approached with visible distaste. "Our patience wears thin, human. Universal compliance is key to order." "Order, huh?" Sarah said, pensively tapping her keyboard. "Well, on Earth, chaos is the order of the day." As she typed, slowly and deliberately, she couldn't help but feel a pang of amusement. Earth, the underdog, was resilient in its own backward way. Brixer watched, visibly tense, as each error-strewn form was passed back to him, further complicating their conquest. That evening, Sarah met with her colleagues. It was unplanned but inevitable. They laughed over the absurdity, a mix of stress relief and joy at watching the mighty Qrathian stumble. Paula raised her glass. "To Sarah, our queen of red tape. May she reign long and confound our enemies." Sarah lifted her mug, filled with a suspiciously leftover pot of coffee from the break room. "To Earth, where even paperwork fights back." Walking home, the night air cooled her. The sight of massive Qrathian ships dotting the skyline was almost comforting now. They were stalled, trapped by a system as tenacious as it was illogical. She looked up, addressing the Grand Armada, her voice steadied with dark determination. "Look at this, alien overlords. You thought you'd crush us easily. Welcome to Earth's real battlefield." The next morning, the tension between the Qrathians and their human captives had reached a palpable high. Brixer met her at the office's entrance, looking wearier than ever. "Human, please, expedite these forms. Our mission is in jeopardy." Sarah gave a long, theatrical sigh, then took the stack from him. "All right, Brixer, but remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is justified compliance." As she delved into another day of puzzling out how best to confuse their intricate system, she could see hope sparking among her colleagues, resistance taking root in paperwork. The Qrathians were tangled, and every minute spent in Earth's mundane hell was a small victory. She typed away, her grin unwavering. Maybe she wasn't just passing time anymore. Maybe she was fighting back in the only way she knew how. "Welcome to the paperwork jungle," she muttered. "Here we've got fun and games." Dawn's early light painted the office in an eerie glow. Sarah stood by her desk, feeling the weight of anticipation. Today was different. The Qrathians, frustrated by the complex web of human bureaucracy, had shifted tactics. They were no longer asking. They were demanding. She glanced at the mound of incomplete forms and mismatched documents cluttering her desk. The ever-present hum of alien ships overhead was a constant reminder of the stakes. The previous evening, whispers of a Qrathian ultimatum had spread through the office. Cooperate or face the consequences. Paula approached, a worried look etched on her face. Sarah, word is they're getting desperate. They might go around the paperwork altogether and, well, force their way through. Sarah leaned back, a dark smile tugging at her lips. Let them try. They'll choke on the red tape before they get anywhere. Marv appeared at her side, holding a stack of new forms. Looks like they've found another way to clog up our desk space. They're not giving up. Sarah took the forms and scanned them. Oh, these are new. Requisition for compliance by ultimatum. Cute. Let them see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Minutes later, Brixer stormed into the office, exuding frustration. His composure, once so intimidating, was now a mere shadow. Human, your defiance is insufferable. We demand immediate compliance or there will be severe repercussions. Sarah stood up, her tone icy. You're here, Brixer, in our world. We don't bow to threats. You want compliance, you'll get it. Just not the way you expect. Brixer hesitated, then nodded curtly. You have 1 hour. As he left, Paula and Marv exchanged worried glances. An hour? What do we do? Paula whispered. Sarah's eyes gleamed with determination. We make them work for it. Pull up every outdated form, every contradictory policy. Let's give them an hour they won't forget. Marv grinned, catching her drift. You heard the lady. Let's turn up the heat. The next hour was a whirlwind of activity. The team unearthed every obsolete regulation, every long-forgotten clause. The Qrathians, albeit powerful, were hopelessly entangled in the chaos. Sarah's heart pounded as she coordinated the efforts, knowing that each misfiled document chipped away at their resolve. Just as the hour was about to lapse, the office lights flickered. Qrathian drones hovered in view, ominously quiet. Brixer appeared once more, his expression unreadable. Time's up. What's the holdup? Sarah stepped forward, a stack of forms in hand. Here you go, all filled out. Just one tiny problem. You need 10 more signatures from unrelated departments before anything can proceed. Brixer's face twisted in despair. You mock us, human. This inefficiency renders us stagnant. Sarah's grin widened. In our world, Brixer, there's an art to stagnation. Welcome to the masterpiece. Then without warning, a loud bang echoed from outside. The Qrathians had reached their limit. They were tearing through the last threads of patience and unleashing their advanced weaponry. The office shook as alien machines powered up, their intent clear. Sarah's heart raced, but fear was not an option. All right, team. New plan. Distraction. Grab everything portable. Confuse the hell out of them. Paul and Marv sprang into action, scattering papers and devices, creating an organized chaos that mirrored their invaders' own bureaucratic nightmare. Sarah, ever the cynic, couldn't help but feel a thrill. If this was their last stand, they'd make it legendary. Through the chaos, Sarah caught Brixer's desperate gaze. This isn't over, he snarled. In a calm, almost heroic tone, Sarah replied, No, Brixer, it's just beginning. You wanted a war of order. Instead, you got a lesson in entropy. As the Qrathian forces wrestled with the avalanche of paperwork and the illogical labyrinth that defined Earth's processes, Sarah felt a strange sense of pride. They had taken on an enemy far superior in strength, but utterly vulnerable to the human propensity for chaos. The battle outside raged, but inside a quiet determination took hold. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the right to be themselves, in all their flawed, disorderly glory. To the Qrathians, it was an invincible force. To Sarah, it was just another day at the office. She looked at her team, their faces set in resolute lines. Ready to give them hell? Paula nodded. Let's show them what Earth is made of. In that chaotic whirlwind, amid the flickering lights and echoing bangs, Sarah felt an unexpected surge of hope. The Qrathians might have underestimated the power of human disarray, but they'd never again doubt its ferocity. Sarah's fingers were cramping from the endless forms, but she pressed on. The Qrathians' full-scale assault outside drummed a relentless beat, each explosion reverberating through her bones. Night had fallen, casting eerie shadows across the office. Other workers moved like phantoms in the dim light, grabbing files, shuffling papers, and creating a manic defense. Sarah, Marv's voice pulled her from her reverie. I think we've bogged them down enough. She glanced at the window. The alien ships were struggling, their sleek movements now jerky and uncertain. Could this really be working? Turning back to Marv, she raised an eyebrow. You think or you know? Marv scratched his head. I'm no hero, but I think their systems are jammed. Too much input, too fast. She let out a low chuckle. Death by paperwork, who knew? Outside, Qrathian troops stumbled, disoriented by the disrupted command signals. Their meticulous order had turned into chaotic madness. They were arguing, their confusion apparent even from a distance. It felt surreal. Mere humans with their cumbersome bureaucracy had managed to stall an advanced alien race. Paula came running up, breathless. Sarah, Brixer wants to negotiate. Negotiate? Sarah snorted. I thought he wanted compliance. Maybe he's finally realized our compliance is more dangerous than resistance, Paula said, a wry smile tugging at her lips. She led Sarah to the temporary Qrathian command center. It was no longer the pristine hub of efficiency. Monitors flickered with error messages, papers were strewn everywhere, and the air hummed with the low-frequency buzz of utter confusion. Brixer stood at the center of it all, looking disheveled and exhausted. Human, Brixer began with uncharacteristic humility. We offer a truce. Sarah crossed her arms, her dark humor bubbling up. A truce, huh? And here I thought you wanted order. Brixer's eyes bore into hers. Your systems are unique. We underestimated their complexity. We underestimated you. Sarah stepped closer, her voice lowered. You thought you could break us with power. But here's the thing about humans. We thrive in chaos. It's messy, it's inefficient, but it's ours. And we use it to survive. Please, Brixer said with a shaky breath, help us untangle this. We're prepared to withdraw. Sarah considered this. The aliens' desperation was genuine. Their once mighty invasion had broken down because they couldn't navigate a system inherently built to frustrate. The irony was delicious, but she knew drawing this out would only bring more harm to Earth. Fine, she said, her tone clipped, but on one condition. Anything, Brixer replied quickly. You leave and you don't come back. Not ever. And you fix every broken thing you've caused before you go. Brixor's head dipped in agreement. It will be done. The following days were a blur. Qrathians worked alongside humans, mending what could be repaired. Brixor personally supervised the operations, his once superior attitude tempered into a kind of quiet respect. Sarah couldn't suppress her dark humor even in the midst of reconciliation. So, Brixor, she said one afternoon, how's the conquest going? He looked at her surprisingly. We've experienced an unexpected learning opportunity. She laughed aloud. Nice corporate spin. Let's call it what it is, a bureaucratic nightmare. With Earth's systems overwhelming even the Qrathians, their departure became inevitable. On the day they finally took to their ships, the sky was clear, devoid of the chaos that had reigned for weeks. Sarah stood watching the armada lift off, feeling an odd mix of triumph and relief. Beside her, Marv nudged her arm. You did it, Sarah. You saved us. She shrugged, a grin spreading across her face. All in a day's work. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get back to my boring tax forms. Paula laughed. Yeah, because that's so exciting. It is now, Sarah shot back. Perspective, my friends. We've achieved the impossible with a little paperwork. They stood together, watching until the last ship disappeared. It was over. The Qrathians, for all their might, had been undone by something decidedly human. Sarah turned to her friends. All right, let's get back to work. Those taxes aren't going to audit themselves.